I'm particularly worried about today because Greg Cody has just announced that beginning tomorrow begins his vacation. And so I think we're going to get Mail It In Cody today. And
what's new?
That's not particularly new, but maximum Mail It In Cody is a little terrifying. Where are you going on vacation? Do you is it going to be another cruise? Are you gonna bump into more things in your car in Ireland?
We are going to an unnamed Western Canadian city. Christopher tried to convince me to spend my entire Canadian vacation wearing a McOver-rated shirt. I declined. But, you know, we love Canada. We love Western Canada. We've been there a couple of times.
Why is the Canadian city unnamed, and why are you now giving regional directions like on a compass telling us it's in the west of Canada, but you're trying to limit what we know?
Okay.
Because you respect people when they say they're going out of town. You don't want them to know exactly where he's going. It seems pretty obvious he's going to Vancouver, though.
Okay, well, maybe not. You know, there's a lot of prominent cities in Western Canada.
Big country.
Yeah, I could be going to Winnipeg. Nobody knows.
That's in central Canada.
Yeah, whatever.
Dan, to your point, the compass. I remember iPhones used to have the compass. I don't think they have the compass anymore. But do we still use compasses? Like, people still have those? They still sell them?
I heard somebody during the Marlins broadcast this weekend talk about Rand McNally. The almanac and maps. Billy, you looked at me funny when I said during the Marlins broadcast, were you surprised that I was watching Otto Lopez have his 27th RBI in 23 games?
No, I was processing the thought that no one uses a compass anymore. Like, people just have given up on trying to figure out what direction they're going in.
Yeah.
The Marlins broadcast was talking about, does anyone use maps anymore? Does anyone know what Rand McNally
TV or radio?
Is? It was radio.
Wow. I just got to an age where I figured it out. I think it was after Californication came out, and Anthony Kiedis said the sun may rise in the east, at least it settles in a fine location. Then I figured it out.
Oh, so you now don't need a compass at all. You always know just watching the sun. You're like a bit like Columbus. You're like an original explorer. Where
I'm Italian.
You are using simply the sun, and in the event that you get lost in the wilderness, you will know which way you are going because you will need neither map nor compass.
I had a coach that used to do that, and he'd put up his hands, and he would like get pretty precise with it. He'd be outside. Obviously, he was a coach, an athletic director. He'd been outside for 40 years, so he was actually good at it. My wife tried to do that one time and tell me, like, I know what time it is based on the sun. I'm like, you do not know what time it is based on the sun.
No, you can't.
I got a good gauge on that.
You can. She can't. No, she cannot.
Put it on
Fair
the
enough.
poll at Lebitard Show. Can you tell the time roughly based on the positioning of the sun, yes or no?
I can. And in fact, they still sell sundials. You know, Google sundial.
That
pick it
can't
up.
be. That
No, it's
cannot
true.
be
Sundial
a
over
good
compass.
business. That cannot.
Oh, I bet
put,
it is.
Put it on the poll at Lebitard Show. Selling better these days, compasses or sundials? Because I'm going to go ahead and say that neither one of those are doing terribly well. But I'm thinking certainly there are compasses on boats, right? Like they're just
GPS
on. They're
now,
just
though.
Yeah. Standard feature, I think.
Yeah, GPS is the cheat sheet for everything now. You don't need to learn. Guy doesn't want to learn. Guy doesn't want to earn when he's traveling.
That's a good point.
I miss the AAA triptych.
Oh, triptychs were the best.
Yeah, I know. We used to get one with. They would, mark all the construction and everything long before GPS. And I'd be driving. My wife would be next to me, flipping the pages, navigating. It used to be great.
Oh, it was the best. You'd say, you know what, we're going to head up to Savannah, Georgia, and they'd give you these big maps. They give you little books, tell you fun places to stop along the way. Triptychs. Dan, you ever go on a road trip?
I miss MapQuest. That's what I miss.
Okay,
MapQuest.
that's fairly recent.
Put it on the poll at Lebitard Show. Do you miss MapQuest?
Did you print out your MapQuest?
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Too many pages.
No, but Triptych was like the original MapQuest without the internet.
I have
And it
no
had
idea what that is. I know MapQuest.
You
And my
haven't
parents.
lived. I feel bad for your
I did
life
live, but-
that it lived without Triptych.
Triptych was a thick book.
Yeah.
You know, you felt like you were getting your money's worth. You spent X number of dollars to be a AAA member.
Exactly
You never got a
right.
flat tire. You didn't need it.
Nope.
But that triptych, gold.
Oftentimes I called AAA. I lied about trips just to get the books, to feel like I was earning my membership, you know?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, put a flat, and get an intentional flat.
Exactly
just so
right.
you can call AAA.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Stop that. Stop that. ignition. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, not so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, right guys, better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that, stop that, stop that.
You guys aren't going to believe this, but Greg Cody swaggered in here today, and he said that the temperature on Mike McDaniel is now at high heat.
Yeah, sort of like this studio.
Greg's complaining about the studio as well. I told him he's wearing a long-sleeve shirt, and it is summer, but it is a little warm in here.
Should have been here last week when it was boiling hot.
I know, it's ridiculous.
This is nice.
This is nice. Billy wouldn't put on a windbreaker if it wasn't nice in here.
There's more to it than that.
Okay, good contribution.
I didn't want to have freaking Aquaphor put on my arms again. That every time I'm not wearing a jacket, they lube up our elbows so that they don't look ashy. And then I stick to the table, and it's a whole thing. I didn't want it. So I put on a jacket, I'm going to sweat.
Greg, can you tell me why you're placing high heat on McDaniel and you're only placing a moderate heat on Mario Cristobal?
Right. Yeah. McDaniel, in my mind, has to, and this is purely speculative on my part, minimum, he has to make the playoffs to keep his job. Perhaps win in the playoffs to end the embarrassing quarter-of-a-century streak of no postseason victories for Miami. I think he and Chris Greer, it's a season of reckoning for both of their futures.
Would you guys please get for me a list of some of the things that were so the last time the Miami Dolphins won a playoff game? Because it would be something. I mentioned this last week, that the last Dolphin playoff game was blacked out. It wasn't on local television. It hadn't sold out. That's an insanity.
The last home Dolphin playoff
The
game.
last Dolphin. Yes, forgive me. Yes,
Yeah, the rules have also since changed, so that's not going to happen anymore.
I'm sorry. No. The last playoff win is what I meant.
Yeah.
Not and it's not a home win. The last win of any kind in the playoffs was 24 years ago, and it was not on television locally. So no one this century has watched on television the Dolphins win a playoff game, and there is a good list that we can put together of things that were so back then, including like a $5 movie ticket.
It was the 2000 season, so this is happy anniversary. This is the silver anniversary of that drought.
And it's crazy to say that. It makes it in a league that legislates equality, rewards bad teams, and keeps things equal through a salary cap. It is a crazy thing to say. Have the Raiders won a playoff game more recently than the Dolphins?
Everybody has. Everybody has in the league.
Is that right? So the Raiders, because you guys think about this. Like, I'm sitting here saying it, I'm like, when the hell is Rich Gannon the last time the Raiders won a playoff game?
I think the Raiders went to a Super Bowl after the Dolphins'
they did.
recent.
So that's the one for the Raiders. The Raiders are Rich Gannon get to the Super Bowl, and that's no, they don't.
They lost because
they lost to Tampa, right?
Gruden knew all the plays.
That's correct. They got blown out because Gruden had coached them. But off the top of my head, the last playoff Raiders team I remember, Tony Siragusa injures MVP Rich Gannon. That's the best Raiders team I've seen.
The BS whistle at Cincinnati. They actually hung tight with I think that Bengals team went on to the Super Bowl. That Bengals team got so lucky throughout the entire postseason. And they made a bunch of big-time field goals, but there was that really controversial play where there was a whistle and it was allowed to play on.
Do you know how crazy it is, though, that I'm watching now as people talk about football, and they continue to say the Bills' dominance of the AFC East. And it isn't that long ago that I watched the Bills go 17 straight seasons without making the playoffs. And now they're dominating the AFC East. The pressure can't be high enough on the Dolphins. Like you have to be playing for jobs this year, and the pressure has to be at the maximum place. But why is it that you're saying that the hot seat is any hotter for him than it is for Mario Cristobal?
Part of it is contractual. Mario still has half of a very lucrative $80 million contract to play out. I don't think they would spend to buy him out, nor do I think they're thinking of that right now. Mike might have more current intel than me, but I think the 12, when the playoffs expanded from 4 teams to 12, it put a clear onus on teams like Miami. All of a sudden, there's a dozen or more, 18 teams in the country who, even if they don't think they're championship contenders, they sure as hell think that they can be one of the top 12 teams. And just missed last year. I thought they should have made it at 10-2 before the bowl loss. I think they had a good argument for that 12th spot. They didn't get it. So I think the onus is definitely on Cristobal to be a playoff team, but I don't think if he doesn't make it that he's fired like I think McDaniels might be.
I want to get to Tkachuk's wedding in a second. He can't be fired because they owe him too much money.
Right. That's the first thing I said.
So Tkachuk's wedding we'll get to in a second, and I do want to get to the Marlins in a second because their road record is as good as 3 division leaders. That's nuts to say that they're as good as Houston, Toronto. It's nuts to say that Toronto is the division leader. The Phillies. And I want to get to some Dee Gordon sound in a second. But I was watching something this weekend, and they were talking about the trio of Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, and Troy Aikman. And I got to thinking, in football, if there are many since then trios that you can mention, okay, because I think Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes had a chance at this, but they didn't stay together, and they only won a couple of times as opposed to what Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman did. Is there another, since Troy, Emmitt, and Michael, anywhere in football, trio that you can look at? Because Tom Brady never had one, right? He had some time with Randy Moss, but it was never like Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning and Edgerrin James come close, but they only won once. So when you think of greatest trios in the history of football, where there are 3 Hall of Famers on a team, does Philadelphia have a chance at putting together?
Philly's a good one. Keep in mind that Colts trio that you outlined didn't actually win. They moved on it. Joe Adai was the running back when they won their first Super Bowl. Philadelphia is a really good one.
Bengals have an outside chance, Dan? Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins?
T. Higgins probably feels a
well,
bit.
He's talking about running back, too,
Yeah,
right?
I thought you meant quarterback, wide
because
receiver,
if we're going
running
trio,
back.
we're going Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes.
Sure,
Boom,
but
done,
that's no
dusted.
running back.
No, but that's no running back, and also they only won twice, and that would be that's the best I could think of off the top of my head. But I was just thinking of the idea of, like, is that even allowed to exist anymore? Because I don't think we can do it with Philadelphia. We certainly can't do it yet, and I don't know if Michael, Troy, and Emmitt set the standard, we cannot say Kansas City met it, right? Because Tyreek Hill left. Like, they could have met it. Tyreek Hill, when they won the first one, said, why can't we win 7 or 8? And imagine that offense. Last year, this is hard. Is this hard to believe for you guys when I say it to you? That the Chiefs won more games last year than any time in franchise history? Because we all thought that team felt like a fraud all season.
Yeah, I recall that. And it did. All those takes did end up coming true. They didn't have the firepower to hang.
But that was the most wins the Chiefs have ever had in a season. Now, granted, they played 17 games and usually played 16 or 14.
If you're not going to give it to Philadelphia, what's a reason? I mean, 1,000-yard receiver. Saquon was damn near MVP. Jalen Hurts was brilliant last season.
Because I don't think Jalen Hurts is a Hall of Famer.
Whoa! He's got a Super Bowl. I think he's on that trajectory. I mean, if you look at Troy Aikman's stats, you could say the very same thing. What made Troy Aikman the Hall of Famer was both the era that he was dominating in, but really the wins.
Well, but you're making AJ Brown Michael Irvin?
He's a 1,000-yard receiver.
Everybody is with 17 games. I agree with Dan. I don't think they have a receiver who's that level. I mean, to me, if you're replacing the Dallas triplets, you have to be Hall of Fame level. I'm
not trying to replace them. I'm just trying to think of what comes close. Like, obviously, Mahomes, Kelce, Hill, obviously Tyreek Hill. Those 3 fit the category. In fact, Mike's right. Troy Aikman only threw 20 touchdown passes once in a season. So he got carried a bit over the time period and the era by the fact that he had those 2 players.
That's about as many as Jalen Hurts got on the ground.
Yeah. But if we're doing the exact parallel, which means the third player has to be a running back, then Philadelphia has, or Kansas City rather, never had that running back to go along with Hill and Patrick.
But playing during a time when the running back is entirely not needed as
Right.
well. Like, it doesn't even matter. They can go interchangeably and win
Well,
titles,
that-
as the Patriots
Which is
did.
why we got to move the goalposts and say just trios. Then it's for sure
Right.
3 Canton guys in Kansas
Put
City.
it on the poll
Mahomes,
at
Hill.
Batard Show. Is Jalen Hurts going to be a Hall of Famer? Yes or no? I wanted to talk to Billy about what's going on with the Marlins because, as I said, Otto Lopez, they won the series against the Kansas City Royals. What happened? What was that noise?
Nothing. Go on. There's a minor bone to pick with them, but that's fine. We'll get
What
to
is
it
the
when we get to it.
What's the minor bone?
Just, the old bait and switch yesterday at Lone Depot Park. I took my family to the Lone because it was Mia the Chicken plush giveaway day. Mia the Chicken, the Great Rooster Race, Dan?
I do not.
You don't know the Great Rooster Race? Oh, my God. It's like the Great Sea Race. You remember the Great Sea Race?
I do not.
You don't remember Julio the Octopus running around in the middle of the game? They would race. You know how like the Nationals have the presidents that race, the great presidents. And then there's the hot dog races. The Marlins, when they opened in 2012, had the Great Sea Race, where they had Spike the Sea Dragon and Julio the Octopus, Bob the Shark, Angel, I think was I don't remember what Angel was, a stone crab or something. They would run around and they would have a race, and Julio would always lose. He was a tough luck loser. And then I think what we heard is that Julio was just so much heavier than all the other sea creatures, and that's why Julio would always lose. But Julio became beloved, and they gave away a Julio, stuffed animal a couple years later. And then when the Jeter regime came in, they did away with the Great Sea Race. Ooh. And we were lacking in-game races until recently, where I believe last year the Great Rooster Race came in. And there was a number of roosters. Charlie's there, and Bobby's there, and then there was some other guy. I don't remember who the other guy was. And then they introduced Mia, the rooster. Well, I guess she's not a rooster. Mia, the chicken from Kendall. And that's Mia. You could see on screen right there. There's Mia.
She does look like she's from Kendall.
Mia's become very popular. And yesterday they gave away a Mia plush at the game. And when it was announced first 3,000 fans coming to the game get a Mia plush.
Wow, everybody gets one.
Wow. So we made it. I actually put it down on my calendar. And I said, we got to get there early. We want to get that Mia plush. First 3,000 fans. First of all, 3,000 seems like a very strange number. But Marlins have been hot lately, so we got to get there early. And early we did. We got there very early yesterday. We were there damn near 90 minutes before the game. And then we had an issue where we were parking at someone's house. I haven't told my wife this.
You did no blocking, no parking?
Yeah. No, I like to support the local small businesses. And I park at people's houses, even if it's a burden to me.
How much did you pay?
That's a good question because the advertised price was $15. I gave the guy a $20, and then we kind of just stood there awkwardly for a little bit of time and said, "Okay, thank you," and I went on my way, and I never got any change. But this was an elderly man. We've been doing business together for some time now, and to be frank, he's not what he used to be. So I didn't.
What do you mean by that? Hold on. What do you mean? He's not what he used to be?
Well, the stadium's been open now 13 years. It's 13 years he's aged. In the 13 years that I've known him, and now he seems to have slightly less mobility than he necessarily did there. A little grayer than he used to be, and without putting anyone out, I wasn't going to get into an argument with him. He's a little slower. So I didn't want to argue with this man and confuse him or whatever. So I just, ate it. I said, okay, fine, whatever. You get the $20. So then we start walking down the street, me and my wife and my daughters, in a very hot day. And then his wife or daughter, so I don't know the exact relationship.
It's very
of these
important.
people. But she comes chasing.
It's an important detail in the story.
It's obviously a much younger lady than I'm trying to figure out. Yeah.
Not much younger, somewhat younger. That's why there's confusion. As comes chasing us down the block, and I think, she's going to give us the $5 that we're owed. And that was not the case. It was like, we need you to pull your car a little bit more forward because it's out on the sidewalk, and we might get a ticket from the police if they do that. Which, by the way, I support, the bravest or the finest or whatever the police officers are, but they've really made it hard to park in people's houses. They're blocking side streets. It's a whole thing. I used to have my whole routine, and I had my way that I would get in and out, and I faced zero traffic. Dude, now they've blocked it. It's a whole thing. Anyways, so I didn't get the change. We had to move the car, and I was worried that we were going to miss out on the plushes because, again, we had to be part of the first 3,000 fans as was initially advertised. So we get in there. And I'm looking around. I'm trying to figure out which gate is going to have it because I know how are they going to just 4 gates? How do they distribute? One gate's going to get like 750 of these. So we go in and I have my 2 daughters and they give us a plush and then they give another plush. And then I'm waiting there, and they're like, no, it's just for kids. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. We have a party of 8 that was coming to this thing. I wanted 8 Mia plushes here. What I was going to do with 8 of them, I have no clue. That was something I was trying to figure out driving in is how do I get rid of 8 stuffed animals? Do I know any children? Like, what do we do here? Who are we going to give these to? Because 8 of the same thing is excessive. We can all agree on that. Then I look on the thing before I came in, because I had a bone to pick. Before I came out to blast anyone, I checked it, and I saw that it was switched to the first 5,000 kids at some point in time, which was not what was advertised when we got the tickets.
Wow, skullduggery.
Nevertheless, I saw a lot of happy children, so I was glad that they did it. But I also, told our party of 8, you got to get there early if you want those stuffed animals. So then we were just there early for a really long time for no reason. So we did face painting. A good day was had by all.
Again, with a good time was had by all.
It was.
It
was a loss.
No, it's
a nice little comeback there in the 9th. We saw some people. I met 2 different people that recognized me named Felipe, 2 separate Felipes.
Wow.
It was fun. We took some pictures, met Billy the Marlin. It was a whole thing.
They were down 7-0.
Yeah.
They won the first 2 games of the series. Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Are you respecting the police if you call them, quote, the bravest, finest, or whatever they are?
I don't remember. Them and the firefighters. One's the bravest, one's the finest.
Firefighters.
One gets shot at, one has to fight blazes. They're both brave jobs.
Yep.
But one of them is not known as the bravest, they're known as the finest, and I'm not sure which one.
Also, that was clear from the way you phrased that. Put it on the poll as well at Le Batard Show. Do you know what a chonga is? Because I believe you guys were accusing Mia of being from Hialeah. Also,
I need you to repeat that word.
Yeah, you made it. Yeah.
You made like a. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it sounded chimichanga.
You made it like a. Yeah, you made it like a
Sorry.
dance
From Kendall.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I've been in this country a long time. So
Good plus. You've been in this country your whole life.
well, no, I've been in and out of this country in parts of Western Canada. So is Bob a good name for a shark as well is a question that I wanted
Bob the
to
Shark
ask.
was a menace in the Great Sea Race. He would win almost every single race. It wasn't fun. Bob would always win. He was a villain.
Is this Shark Week? Is this week Shark Week?
It started last night.
Okay, this is a very exciting time for me.
Ron McGill hates Shark Week. Terrible.
Why would he hate Shark Week?
Because it portrays sharks for all of the menace and danger and negativity, and he doesn't like that when we refer to animals as monsters, and he thinks animals have a bad rap.
He's a lobbyist for Big Shark.
Yeah, it could be.
He plays his favorites with the animals. We can agree on that, right? Like, he's not unbiased as far as it comes to animals.
He's biased in general, thinking that all animals get a bad rap, I think, right?
Yeah, he does. By the way, just as an aside, I hope you don't mind me saying, but I have some big news regarding my and Ron's book, The Pride of a Lion. May I say the big news? Because it's exciting to me.
Movie option?
No, not yet.
Paperback?
Not yet. It's come out in an audiobook.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is huge news.
Read by?
It's very read by, I forget the gentleman's name, but he did a great job.
Oh.
Okay, because no,
Not
wanted
you, not Ron?
listen, I expected Ron to do it, but for whatever reason they went to a professional narrator.
Why not Christopher?
Where is Christopher?
He's in Las Vegas. He was there for a Backstreet Boys concert at the Sphere. And I think he's coming back tomorrow. I'm not positive.
Backstreet's back, they're saying.
All right.
All right.
Just decided?
Tell me why. Yeah, he Christy, I think, led that, his wife.
But just decided to not come into work today.
Well, he can't do both. It's tough to be at work when
Vacation
you're in
occasionally.
Vegas.
It's a summer.
Unlimited.
It's all
I could-
Yeah.
You can do vacation and go watch the Backstreet Boys and take a long weekend. That's
Is
all
he,
right.
Is he coming in tomorrow?
I have no idea. I'm not my son's keeper. He's a grown man.
Is he?
But
Is he? Is he? Because you're not a grown man.
okay, back to me for a second.
Hereditary.
Yeah, back to you.
okay.
Big news.
Great flick.
It's totally thrilling to hear a book you've written on audiobook. Like, that was a cheap thrill for me. I listened to the first 2 chapters just to experience it, and it was wonderful. And also, The Pride of a Lion is now being distributed in South America, which is another big step. So
in English or Spanish?
In Spanish.
Nice.
So more than a year after its release, that book has generated enough interest to be republished in a couple of forms like that, and it's very exciting. I'm very proud of that.
It is a failure that Ron McGill did not read that book. That's a disappointment. That would
he would have been great.
The audio, our audience would have bought an audio book read by Ron McGill. It's less of a sales item when you don't have it read by Ron McGill. If you'd read it, our audience would buy the audio book. No matter how good the sound of the professional narrator, the fact that it's not one of you two will sell fewer books, not more.
Do you get a cut of sales? Sorry for asking. Do you get a cut of sales? Because like right now, if you want on Amazon, it is 77% off. It's $584. So I don't know if that's good for you or bad for you.
Such a deal. I don't know the finances.
77% off.
Yeah, $584 right now. So you
don't like that,
it's
Tony?
a bargain.
I don't like that. We need that price to go this way.
I hear that.
77% off is
basically free.
I mean,
send it to my house.
Put it on the poll, Juju at Le Batard Show. Is 77% off basically free?
That's crazy.
It's also an editor's pick for best nonfiction.
Okay, thank you for that. I didn't know that. 77 Sunset Strip.
All right, go ahead.
Nothing. I thank Billy for that information. I didn't know it was an editor's pick.
Let me give you some information on some things that were the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game. It was December 30th of the year 2000. Patrick Mahomes, who has 17 playoff wins since, was 5 years old. Andy Reid had 1 year of head coaching experience. Mike Ryan was a freshman in high school. Wikipedia didn't exist. Social media didn't exist. Tua was 2 years old. The iPod didn't exist. Castaway was released in theaters, and I think this is the most shocking one. Greg Cody was 46 years old.
A pup.
Greg Cody was in his spry prime complaining that his columns were running inside the Miami Herald because me and Edwin Pope were on the front page.
That's true. That was technically before I became a full-time columnist, which I think was in 93. No. Yeah, it was in 95. So I was a columnist, but I was still third string back then.
I remember listening to that Lamar Smith playoff game on the radio.
Yeah.
There was no way to watch it on TV because it was a home game and it was blacked out during the playoffs, which became routine. There was another playoff home game that was blacked out against, I think, Elvis Gerback and the Baltimore Ravens. Wow.
Elvis.
But that was a great moment in time. I had some loyalty to the Dolphins back then because the Browns had just re-entered the NFL, and during that time I was a Dolphin fan. So that was an exciting time around town. Wish I could have seen it. It was a great performance by Lamar Smith.
40 carries. Man, did they run him into the ground.
Their present starting running back hadn't been born. Hadn't been born the last time. He wouldn't know who Lamar Smith is.
No.
He wouldn't have it. H.M. would have no idea who Lamar Smith is.
Nope, not unless he's a historian after the fact.
Let me get for a second here to this Dee Gordon sound, because Dee Gordon, if you do not remember, what other details do I need here, Billy? He was a leadoff man for the Marlins. He was brought in and had one very good season for the Marlins.
So Dee Gordon was a Marlin. You traded for him. He was part of like the 2015, 16, 17 run of the Marlins. Leadoff hitter, fun energy guy, middle infielder. And he's one of the few Marlins who has won a batting title. Now, after he won the batting title, it was a very exciting season. There were high expectations for Dee Gordon the following season. And then much to everyone's surprise, because Dee Gordon, seems like he's 5'8", 135 pounds, was suspended for steroid use, which confused absolutely everyone. So Dee Gordon was on a podcast recently, and he was talking about the season that he won the batting title and then subsequent season where he was suspended for steroid use.
So, look, I got suspended in 16 for steroids. Look at me, King. It look like I took steroids before?
Ain't no way.
Okay.
Right. I'm about to say, ain't 165. Ain't no way. He said 165.
Let me tell y'all, I ain't going to say no name or nothing, but let me just put it like this. 2015, they told my little black ass, don't win that batting championship. And I said, y'all got me fucked up.
Damn, so you went out there and said, fuck it, I'm going to go get this little The little championship, the trophy.
And they said don't do it.
Was it like a money thing for them?
Nah, it was a guy. I ain't gonna say his name. He would have won Triple Crown if I let him win the batting title. The last day of the season, I beat him for the batting title. I went 3 for 4 with a home run.
I'm trying to see
I ain't saying
You can say it. I mean, it'll be easy.
If it's what I'm thinking of,
he won MVP that year.
They didn't like that.
They called me a week before.
They didn't like that.
And I was like, man, I'm from Avon Park, bro.
You hear me? He said, I'm from Avon Park.
That is strange that he wouldn't mention Bryce Harper the way that Greg Cody wouldn't mention where he's vacationing in Western Canada.
That's true.
He also wouldn't mention who they is or the fact that he gained 13 pounds in that offseason, which is roughly 8% of his entire body weight.
Yeah, the mystery of they might be the big issue here, I think.
Is there going to be anyone who believes anything he's saying there? Because if you look at Dee Gordon, I think there was another. Well, you can't do this visually because I remember a pitcher, Guillermo Mota. I think he was for the Dodgers. He was a string bean. Like you can't do this based on muscles or even 13 pounds of weight gain. But nobody would have thought. Dee Gordon famously couldn't hit home runs. Dee Gordon produced one of the most magical moments for the Marlins this century because he hit a home run immediately after Jose Fernandez died, and he never hits home runs. Find for me how many home runs Dee Gordon hit for the Marlins.
Everybody was surprised when the first person to get caught under MLB's performance-enhancing policy was, I think, this outfielder from Tampa Bay, Alex Sanchez, and he was rail thin. But again, the rail thin guys, it's always deceptive. And then you realize, wait, what did they play at the year before they got pinched? And then it all makes sense. Oh, he was just small to begin with.
Guillermo Mota also was surprisingly large. He was 6'6". He weighed 240, but he was 6'6", which is why he was thin.
Tall, but I don't believe that listing of 240. I don't believe it because if I show you a photo of Guillermo Mota, you will see that is not a person who looks like he is on steroids.
Dee Gordon hit 7 home runs as a Marlin.
That sound, incidentally, was from the Raw Room podcast. We should start crediting people when we use their sound.
I would also say that I'm not questioning whether or not that story is real to Dee Gordon, but his recollection of the name he wouldn't mention possibly winning a Triple Crown was slightly off in that Bryce Harper hit 330 that year. He hit 333. He was tied for home runs with 42, but he only had 99 RBI where Nolan Arenado had 130. So he would have had to have a very big last day of the season to win the Triple Crown.
Oh, liar!
Okay, so there it is. That would seem to be an untrue story that Dee Gordon was telling.
I mean, come on, memories. You know how they go. All of a sudden you remember, you had 40-some-odd home runs. You had some-odd 99 RBIs.
Yeah, Raw Room got to set that record straight.
Oh.
I hate to say it, but you can't let a guy get away with that. Somebody got to step up and say, he lost the RBI race by 31. But if you tie, because this happened to Carl Yastrzemski in 1967, my original hero.
Yes.
If you tie for home runs, you still get the Triple Crown.
Tell us more about your original hero, Carl Yastrzemski.
I mean, in 1967, the impossible dream. You know, Greg Cody is 12 years old, going on 13. It was my entree into loving sports, into loving baseball. I was from Massachusetts. I went to a few games as a kid at Fenway after the fact because we moved there when I was 3. But Yaz was my first hero along with Willie Mays. I had an AL guy and an NL guy. The Say Hey Kid and Yaz were both my heroes. And years later, when a feminine product named itself Yaz, I was very, very upset. Nothing against feminine products, but they were usurping the name of my childhood hero, which I didn't like to this day. I hope the product I'm listing has gone out of business. But that's a diversion from what I'm talking about. Everybody's got a magical Everybody's got a magical hero. Mine in 1967, Yaz, son of a potato farmer. This guy, that's also, I read the Yaz book. First book I ever read as a kid, other than assigned books in school, was Yaz, the potato farmer's son. And that wasn't the title of it, which would have been funny. But, you know, I've always had a place in my heart for Yaz. He's now in his late 70s. He's iconic, but yet he's a recluse. He's not one of the 45 to 50 Hall of Famers invited every year, living Hall of Famers invited every year to Hall of Fame weekend, which is in a few days. Never shows up. Dropped completely out of sight. In good health. as far as I know, because his grandson Mike is now in the big leagues, and I've seen them photographed together within the past couple of years. So God bless Yaz.
Put it on the poll at Lebitard Show. He's winded from how much
sweating.
he's carrying the show.
I'm sweating.
Carrying the show so far. Put it on the poll, please, at Lebitard. At Lebitard Show. Did you know that Yaz was a feminine hygiene product?
He's also almost 90, Greg. Not in his late 70s. You're almost in your late 70s.
Wait a minute. Yaz is almost 90?
He's 85.
85.
That would make sense.
You're right. I did know he was in his 80s. That was a misspeak by me.
I will also say that the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game, because he mentioned that he's hoping that Yaz is now out of business. In the time since the Dolphins won a playoff game, iTunes was formed and then died. So the entire lifespan of iTunes has happened in the time since the Dolphins last won a playoff game. Which did you like best from among all of those stats? Tua was 2 years old. Mike Ryan was a freshman. Achane hadn't been born. Social media didn't exist. Wikipedia didn't exist. That's a lot. And Greg Cody was 46 years old.
That's my favorite one.
That's still the best one?
That's beyond comprehension.
Are you sure social media didn't exist in 2000?
Yeah,
For sure.
It did not.
Is that true?
100%.
That surprises me.
No, the most social media thing that we had was AOL chat rooms.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I guess GeoCities message boards, but no real social media.
I think I would vote for that one. That surprises me.
Mike, why did you get beat by TMZ Sports on the big giant story that the Cavender twins were getting breasts? The TMZ Sports.
Why did I get beat on that?
They had that already.
That was my beat. The Cavender twin breast
Phrasing.
augmentation. Others can have that scoop. Go right ahead.
Let's play for the people the video here. It doesn't have audio of the Tkachuk wedding. The Tkachuk wedding. Matthew Tkachuk is here, and
Also, is it a scoop if they just take a selfie video saying, "Hey, we're getting boobs"?
that is Keith Tkachuk being lifted. Are there shirtless people there? Tell me about. Oh, his belly's coming out from under the dress shirt under there.
Big Walt.
Oh my God, a hockey wedding. I can't even imagine how much fun those people. A champion hockey wedding. Tkachuk's wedding with all his teammates there. What kind of lunacy was that thing?
Just the Tkachuks. Just the Tkachuk family being there. I'm sure it's a rager. And this is a nice little opportunity to say that before this run all started, Keith Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk's father, gave an interview, and he basically called out the entire team, including the head coach, Paul Maurice, for being soft.
The music in the background in that video was Pink Pony Club, which was the celebratory music that the Edmonton Oilers played.
Oh, that's a good. That's a
we
good
took
song.
that.
Chapel Roan.
Yeah, we took that song.
Thank you, Billy.
The only thing you took.
The headline of that video, by the way, was 6 Panthers injured lifting 270-pound man.
It's a little heavier than his playing days, no doubt. As a Panther fan, it did warm the cockles of your heart watching Brandon Montour and Ryan Lomberg there. A bunch of former teammates still a part of the core nucleus that still, by all accounts, that is a very close team. And we wonder to see what's going to happen with Matthew Tkachuk. Reputable reporters are out there saying there's no way he plays at the start of the season. I think there's going to be this is the last year that they can do it, manipulate the cap a little bit, have him wait to get his surgery.
You would not need him all season. Why would you play him all season? You could get all your players healthy. The thing that the Panthers can do, and this seems insane to say, it seems like a truly insane thing to say, but of all the crazy things they did in architecture, of going from a team that was the best they had in offensively in the history of the sport, was it not, during the regular season, and certainly in Panthers history, they blow that up because that can't play in the playoffs, and they have proven over the last 2 years that they can absolutely find an elevated place to play and can coast through the regular season like a basketball team, where they don't have to worry about whether their seeding is 1 or 3rd. They could go load management with surgeries and everything else. Because they can only do it for 1 more year, but they can do it for 1 more year.
Well, as far as Tkachuk is concerned, I wouldn't be surprised if he got surgery because he's aiming to play in the Olympics in 2026 in Milan. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got surgery.
Well, there is also the little nugget that came out from guys that cover the league really well, that he actually tore his groin not playing, in the fight with Brendan Hagel. Mm-hmm. The iconic 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. That fight appears to be where Matthew Tkachuk got hurt.
I mean, that dude, the last 2 playoffs, has been out there like a torso on skates.
2 of the last 3. He definitely had that sternum injury. Came back, had a game-winning assist, and the only win that the Panthers had in their history in the Stanley Cup final up until that point. Just one of the gutsiest performances ever. And he was very clearly Florida's best player in year 1 of their run. Last year, I know he was hurt, but in terms of effectiveness, and he came on a little bit later in the playoffs, probably top 7 contributor. This team was so deep, so good. You have a pretty natural offensive-minded forward in Mackey that can come in and pick up some of that productivity.
Okay. An asinine thing to say, even though it's so. Asinine. That maybe the best trade in South Florida sports history netted what was their 7th best player last year. And I ask you this, Roy, because even though he's a young player and they've got him in the middle or at the beginning of an 8-year contract extension, he's small. And once the body starts breaking in a number of places, it often breaks in a number of more places. Do you expect Tkachuk to get back to what it is that we once saw from him at the very start of all this? Because he's been, and I don't even blame him. It's the sport, it's how he plays it, and it's his size, so I understand, but his body's breaking down.
I'll hand it over to Roy. I think his reputation and his star has kind of outshined even his own performance, even though he's still a very good player, a very good American player. I don't think he's the better of the 2 Tkachuks. I think there's even a considerable gulf between the 2, but I think Matthew Tkachuk will age well in that. The injuries are a conversation, and yes, he's got a smaller frame, but this is not a player that's ever really relied on his athleticism. He's very slow.
Yes. Yeah, he's the slowest skater in the league, really.
Right. But because you could make an argument that he's the best American player, with that personality, that makes him that's half of his stardom, is being American and having a great personality.
This is Juju. He's got a new show.
Welcome back. The Alley Oop has returned.
How many damn jerseys do you have?
It's about basketball, hoops, and hoopers.
I'm trying to get us away from calling him the Joker because the other nickname on his page is Big Honey. And I just think Big Honey is a way better nickname.
Now, Don Staley and them girls back at it again. And she gonna pull up Prada down, Chanel, Gucci, Louis. It don't even matter. Them Auburn Tigers, bro. Them boys 35 years old each player. None of them brothers got a hairline amongst any of them.
But maybe you're wondering, where can I see it or hear it? Tell us, Juju.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/oddballhoops. Do you need me to point at some visual explanations? Well, here you go.
Best F1 Minutes with Jessica Spatana.
After a blank space on the calendar, Formula One is back in Azerbaijan despite its reputation for tight corners and narrow roads. F1 is putting a sprint race in Baku. On Saturday, Charles Leclerc is fearless in pole position as the sprint begins. But at the start, London boy George Russell delivers some karma to Max Verstappen, making him a move to push him wide. Max is red, but George says, "Don't blame me." Number 22, Yuki Tsunoda clips the wall and loses a tire after just 2 laps. At the restart, Sergio Perez has a lead with 5 laps left. It's time to go. Checo wins the sprint race, but Max and George have bad blood when the race ends. You guys see what I'm doing yet? Will there be vigilante shit on Sunday?
This is amazing.
You need to calm down because it's lights out and away we go in Baku. Sparks fly, and Verstappen is driving like he's in a getaway car and pulls out into the lead. Long story short, Nick de Vries has a glitch and a safety car ensues. Perez is in the lead after a slew of pit stops, but he's not out of the woods yet. The one driver, Max Verstappen, has speed, but that's when Sergio Perez says, bye-bye, baby. As the race ends, Esteban Ocon goes into the pit, but the mastermind race organizers have let press onto the treacherous pit lane. This is why we can't have nice things. 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton finishes 6th. The last great American dynasty, Haas, finishes out of the points, but today was a fairy tale for Sergio Perez. Verstappen finishes in 2nd, which is better than revenge. 1-2 for Red Bull is nothing new. They don't have champagne problems on the podium, but the anti-hero Max Verstappen is only ahead in the Drivers' Championship by 6 points. Fernando Alonso and Taylor Swift rumors are swirling. Long live Formula One. Max Verstappen has won the Drivers' Championship, but we still have 4 races to go. In Austin, Daniel Ricciardo rides a horse named Horsey McHorseface into the paddock. Zach Brown accuses Christian Horner of cheating, and Fort Lauderdale's own Logan Sargent will join Williams in 2023. During quali, Carlos Sainz takes the fastest lap while his teammate Charles Leclerc takes a grid penalty. Martin Brundle gets snubbed by Brad Pitt. Tim Apple doesn't know how to wave a flag. 440,000 people are at the Circuit of the Americas. It's lights out and away we go. On turn 1, Max Verstappen gets ahead of Carlos Sainz, and Sainz tries to recover, but gets hit by George Russell. The Spaniard is out of the race before the 1 lap is even over, and Russell takes a 5-second penalty. Valtteri Bottas' race ends early, and a safety car helps out Charles Leclerc for once. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll get in a massive collision, and debris is everywhere. Lewis Hamilton, on hard tires, leads the race with 10 laps to go, but the Flying Dutchman cannot be beat this year. It's Verstappen, Hamilton, and Leclerc. Sebastian Vettel battles to the finish in his final USGP. Baby Lando finishes 6th, and Yuki gets a point. Red Bull wins the Constructors' Championship for the first time in 10 years, a day after their founder's passing. People are crying, there's champagne flowing, fireworks are popping off. Everything is bigger in Texas, Dan, except for F1 drivers.
I guess it's time for the F1 minute here, even though I want to hear that sound
gave it
again.
away.
Je suis stressé pour les minutes de Formule 1. J'ai besoin d'énergie. Énergie.
Let's go, energy.
Oh, energy.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Circuit Paracas pour le Grand Prix de France. Les températures élevées sur le circuit signifient que la gestion des pneus va être essentielle. Charles Leclerc, le pilote automobile monégasque, fait passer à Max Verstappen pour la première place. Le pilote Ferrari doit gagner pour rester dans les championnats. Mais non! Quelle horreur! Une catastrophe! Sacré bleu! Charles Leclerc sort de la course! Encore de la malchance! Il est fini! Une honte! Max Verstappen prend une grosse avance. Lewis Hamilton, le pilote Mercedes, est 12e. Carlos Sainz, l'autre pilote Ferrari, a commencé à la 19e place. Tout sa pénalité pour le changement du moteur. Et les roues contre roues avec Sergio Perez, mais l'imbécile de chez Ferrari recommence. Max Verstappen a fini premier de la course. Carlos Sainz est le pilote toujours. Lando, l'enfant Norris, a terminé 7e. Lance Stroll a terminé avec un point. Félicitations, Mike Crack.
Huh?
This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Batard Show. Are you stunned that the Dolphins have not won a playoff game in the last third of Greg Cody's lifetime?
Wow, you got me dying in 5 years. Hope to last a little longer.
No, the third of your lifetime so far. It's not. I'm not killing you yet.
It wouldn't be
say that.
It's
I
a little
did not
more
say
than
that.
slightly more than a third of my life.
I didn't say that at all. I said the lifetime that's presently in front of me. I wasn't extinguishing it.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
A tenth of his life, let's say.
Well, no.
There you go. Yeah,
I don't want to say that. It's far less impressive that way to save his feelings on that he's not going to die.
Well, I mean, if Greg lives to be 250, that would be very impressive.
I know, it will be.
Thank you, Billy.
Notice I said it will be, not would be.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence.
Science.
Big thing.
Confidence in science.
You got to believe. When you slow yourself down, that's when your body slows down. Like if you're out there being active, doing things, why can't you live forever?
That's
At
right.
some point, everyone that's died thought, you know what? I've had enough. And then they die.
Yeah, it's a good point by Billy. He's right on the mark as usual.
How is that a good point?
And I'm as active as anybody, so look at me.
You are not as active as anybody.
He put out 2 books in the last 3 years.
Thank you. Yes.
And he bowls.
Yeah.
Every week.
And the 3rd book is in the works.
One of the books is recycled, and I wrote more for it than he did.
That's not quite true, although you are long-winded with those forwards. Woo, woo. Wow. Need an editor there.
Who said that?
But thank you for doing it.
I want to get to
a little tighter.
Story here from this weekend that made me sad. It made me legitimately sad. And I was surprised by the sadness. It caught me off guard because it's it's twofold, right? So Stephen Colbert was canceled. And I was sad about this, even though I probably haven't watched that show in 6 years. Late night television is dead. He had the highest rated one, but that only means fewer than 2.5 million viewers a night because of how much damage has been done to late night television by our instantaneous need to get everything and what streaming has done to late night television, on-demand stuff. You don't have to be by your television for anything.
Cannibalizing itself too, understanding the different trends, and they create stuff for people to see it. If someone has anything worth a damn on late night, you catch it online. And that's how carpool karaoke exploded. Fallon remains culturally relevant by these social clips.
You know what? I shouldn't even say late night television is dead. It's just changed into something else. And what happened this last week was offensive to me on a couple of fronts. First of all, that show has existed for 33 straight years, 22 by Letterman and the last few by Colbert. But that show introduced me to televised comedy. I didn't even understand what I was watching late at night with David Letterman. It was so different from everything else that I had ever seen on television, but also taught me, oh, shit, there's a dude on television who goes after his employer. That guy makes fun of the people writing his checks. And I'd never seen that. And so here's the sound. Now, what's amazing to me is that CBS is willing to lie this flagrantly about it's strictly a financial decision when it can't be strictly a financial decision. It's the highest rated late night show. Like, that is a bold-faced lie, even as programming tries to get cheaper all over the place, as you see with FS1 and Barstool. Programming needs to get cheaper, but you don't do it with the highest-rated late-night show. And this is what actually got Stephen Colbert fired. They won't say this, but this was the monologue a few days before he was fired, and, importantly, a few days before the Sundance CEO, who is going to be a part of this merger, Skydance, was meeting with the FCC, and you now know what government institutions are doing. And so what Colbert did on television to honor, not unlike what Shane Gillis did at the end of the ESPYs, where he's honoring Norm Macdonald, on this stage, in this time, Stephen Colbert is the highest-rated late-night show because he does stuff like this, and this is what got him fired.
My moustache comes to you with a heavy heart because while I was on vacation, my parent corporation, Paramount, paid Donald Trump a $16 million settlement over his 60 Minutes lawsuit. As someone who has always been a proud employee of this network, I am offended, and I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust in this company. This settlement is for a nuisance lawsuit Trump filed claiming that 60 Minutes deceptively edited their interview with then-candidate Kamala Harris last fall. Paramount knows they could have easily fought it because, in their own words, the lawsuit was completely without merit. Now, I believe that this kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's big fat bribe.
So the corporate media has shown a remarkable cowardice in pushing back on a fascist, even though it has FU money. And now the fight comes to Rupert Murdoch, who isn't going to somehow be as weak as some of these other people tend to be. But Jon Stewart is saying he's not sure about the future of Daily Show. He's not sure about the future of South Park. Jon Stewart, of course, got banished by Apple and is now not sure about The Daily Show. And the part that made me sad wasn't just the nostalgic memory part. It's the fact that Trump got $16 million for something that was just a nuisance lawsuit that had no chance of winning, and also got Colbert fired.
To be clear to our audience, the reason why they pay that settlement, as long theorized by many people on social media, is they have this Paramount and Skydance have this massive merger, and you need the FCC's approval to pass this thing through, and Donald Trump could have stayed in the way of that. And we've seen things like this with law firms. We've seen it's not always a lawsuit settlement. We've also seen donations go to the presidential library. Some of the biggest tech companies in the world are doing that right now to curry favor with the president of the United States in what appears to be pretty transparent bribes and corruption.
I love Stephen Colbert. Smart show. I lean with him politically. I love everything about the guy, but at the same
is not an echo chamber.
At the same time, I have to wonder, Stephen, you didn't think you might be fired by saying this? When you say the company paying my checks no longer has my trust, I mean, you're inviting yourself to be fired.
To be fair, 60 Minutes had an editorial piece at the start of one of their shows shortly after the settlement, and they came out against it. And he hosts a show, as Dan mentioned, where what's canon is going at the corporate bosses. That is actually like a tentpole of late night. Stephen Colbert has never shied away from that. Dan mentioned Jon Stewart, who does host The Daily Show every Monday for Comedy Central under the Paramount umbrella. The South Park creators who also have a very famous show, a legacy show in South Park, for that same parent network, came out and said this merger is a disaster. It's why you're not getting new episodes on time. But Bill Simmons, I saw a clip of Bill Simmons, and he pointed to tonight's Daily Show with Jon Stewart as one of the more fascinating nights and late nights since the extortion attempt on David Letterman. What was David going to say there? Because you have a guy in Jon Stewart who is one of the most recognized, if not the single most recognized personalities with that network, Comedy Central. He also just left a place in Apple because they tried to censor what he was going to report on. Colbert's career is tied to that show, The Daily Show, and Jon Stewart. So what is Jon Stewart going to say today?
In this time where the court jesters have become the trusted newsmen, because that tree is not just Colbert and Jon Stewart, it's also John Oliver and a whole assortment of other folks.
Yeah, it was a king-making show.
And John Oliver also goes after his employer, makes fun of HBO Max, and these people are important. And the idea that in today's time you can have the business come into the editorial to contaminate everything at a time we need the press to be stronger, we need voices to be stronger, to see corporate media bow to throw $16 million. It's a nuisance lawsuit. I understand why they did it. I understand. It's simply a business decision. But the blatant dishonesty after that is something that makes people not trust corporate media. Like, you can't say that's strictly a financial decision. Like, that is as bold-faced a lie as the pathological liar who's a criminal and a racist and possibly a rapist and felon and everything, fraud. That's every bit the lie that he tells daily.
And emboldened now. Takes his victory lap on social media saying Jimmy Kimmel should be next. And then, while not mentioning Jimmy Fallon, also kind of touches on Jimmy Fallon. And it just exacerbates this type of behavior. We saw it touch sports over the weekend. This kind of shakedown mentality. Change the Commanders' name or else. And a lot of conservative friends ask me, what do you think about this Commanders thing? I'm like, I think it's none of his goddamn business. What business is it to the President of the United States what a team decides to call itself? And now he's trying to get in the way of a real estate deal. This is what an authoritarian looks like. It's no more his business what they're called to what colors that they wear on the field. That is a private enterprise. It's none of the president's business.
Oh, but I've told you before that there are a stack of executive orders and other things that they can just throw into the publicity machine to try and get rid of whatever the scandal of the day is. And he's having all sorts of trouble getting rid of Epstein because his base is turned on him. And when I tell you that corporate media is failing, the guy he's presently sued is not failing.
That's a fascinating dynamic because Rupert Murdoch owns Wall Street Journal and owns Fox News, which is the largest megaphone that President Trump and his administration have had. It's tilted the pendulum when it comes to influence in this country. It's propaganda. And it'll be interesting to see if that ever goes to Discovery. Maybe Donald Trump is playing himself. But yes, with the Obama hoax, with the Commanders, he's reaching for any kind of popular diversionary tactic with his own base because that's where his popularity is strikingly dipped with his own MAGA base.
I mean, I expect CBS or any huge corporation to lie or fudge the truth for its own benefit. I don't particularly trust politicians, starting with Trump, but that's a different story than or Stephen Colbert doing more than he wasn't making fun of CBS by any means. He wasn't having a laugh with it. He was super serious, and he did more than just make fun of the settlement or deride the settlement. He said, I no longer have trust for my corporation. And that, to me, that was him going over the line in a way that he had to know that was the line. That's all I'm saying. I think.
So you're saying he should have been fired?
I am saying that he should have expected to be fired. Okay, in an ideal world, I'm not going to fire him. If I'm CBS, hell no. But knowing the reality of what he's dealing with, I think when he's flatly saying, and CBS ostensibly is in the trust business. They still have news programs. When he's saying, I no longer can trust CBS, I think that's a death knell. I think he had to know that I am saying something that might get me fired.
You say that, but I will tell you at the end at ESPN around some of this stuff, I never expected to be fired. Never. And wasn't going to be, because you don't take the hit on that. But the times have changed. And what has changed on Colbert is the times, because that show's always been allowed to do that. And you're right, when he went after, he did go after them hard, but he has a lot of reason to believe, as the highest rated show in late night, that there's very little possibility that he's going to be fired for making fun of his employer.
What I don't understand is Paramount paid the president off with this settlement. Shouldn't that have stopped the problems? Did they not want their biggest late night talent calling this to attention? But 60 Minutes has just let Colbert do his thing, and now it's become totally outsized with the announcement that you're letting him go, because now people are focusing on the message when it's a message that he could say for years on end. The only time that's ever been canon, apparently, for CBS with their parent company is when they're trying to push through a massive merger.
You said he made it worse. They've made it worse, and they have, but temporarily, right? The decision is a fascinating one. To take the publicity hit at the front end that you're going to take right now, lie about it, try with a calculated fashion to say nothing bad about Colbert. You're not telling us it's about anything else. You're saying strictly financial decision, and that makes no sense.
I mean, you're pissing off Stephen Colbert. We wait with bated breath to find out what they do with Jon Stewart. These are all taped shows. Are they going to muddle that message? You add Matt Stone and Trey Parker to the mix. This is not a dilution by degrees. You are ripping away what is actually an audience driver for you, things that make part of this merger really appealing. That was a massive deal that they cut with Jon Stewart, that saw him executive produce and bring back to life The Daily Show, with him including him hosting once a week.
Apple ran off Jon Stewart, and I want to go back to a conversation that we were having last week about the difficulty that mainstream sports media is having finding young audiences and how they don't know how to do it. That the people in charge are old. The people in charge were not ready for any of this streaming stuff. The CEOs who met with the writers during the writers' strike didn't know what they were doing because the new age has arrived and they don't understand what's happening. And all the people in charge are old. It's one of the reasons I found fascinating what FS1 did. Because, and I mean this as no indictment of Barstool when I say it's cheap programming. Roy Wood Jr. told me, our friend, told me that something that he watches in comedy. Comedy is a very hard way to make a living. There aren't a lot of employers. You know who the employers are. Specials are easy to do, but all other content costs a lot of money in comedy. And keep in mind, this guy's been grinding, hustling, touring, trying to make a living, still has to grind, even though he's one of the famous ones, because it doesn't usually come with health insurance or employers. You're always a solo. You're an independent trying to find work. He told me that what he looks for on television and entertainment when he's looking to see where the money's gonna go in comedy is he watches sports programming, because he knows when that gets cheap, and it's super cheap usually, when that gets cheap, he knows that his industry is headed for some trouble. And what Fox just did is what ESPN is doing on ESPN2, where everyone realized during the pandemic, oh, we've been doing TV all wrong. We could just do it on Zoom, and we don't have to pay people $7 million since most of them aren't actually ratings people. And the thing that's smart about what FS1 did is it's not merely cheap. They're going to finally do it the way they should have done it from the beginning. Is you don't try to beat ESPN at being ESPN. You got to make fun of ESPN. If you're the rival, if you're the challenger, if you're Fox when you're doing Tracy Ullman and starting with The Simpsons, what you have to do is Married with Children. You have to do things no one else is doing. So what they did at the beginning to establish credibility is to try to be ESPN, and they failed. And so now they're going to go to a brand that will lure young people, not just because it always does, because for sure they're not going to respect the way that it's done and the way that it's done with their rival. And it's a very smart move on how to get young people, because most people in media do not know how to get young people.
It's still being reported on. What we know about the weekday block, I think it's 2 hours of Barstool programming. We don't know what that looks like, if they're just going to repurpose something existing, which would be more cost-effective for Fox, or if they're going to throw some money behind a newer concept. But one thing is for sure from working over at ESPN, we know licensing these shows is usually more cost effective for these parent corporations than building out the studio, hiring around that, hiring writers, producers, talent, and the entire crew and the budgets behind that. So it's a smart move. I think it's an inspired move for a lot of the reasons that you outlined. And I'm pretty interested in seeing what Barstool does with the opportunity.
Billy mentioned last week that, because you guys were talking to me, I was saying I'm just really surprised that content companies in general aren't better at making their own content. And one of the things that Billy said is that we've been doing this for years, that John Skipper tried to hire Barstool years ago, or not Barstool, but Big Cat and PFT, and it lasted one day. Billy, do you know the story of why it only lasted one day? Do you know the whole backstory on this? Because John Skipper was no better at attracting young people than anyone else. That's why he got us. Like, that's the reason we were hired, is because they needed to farm that out. They weren't good at doing it for themselves. Do you know why? Do you know everything that happened there? Like some of the backstory?
I mean, I know what was reported is that there was outrage of the connection between the Barstool brand and ESPN. There were a number of on-air talents that were not comfortable with that connection and that relationship, and they spoke out against it. And then it was determined those people are more valuable to this company than the partnership with Barstool is, so we're going to end it.
But the step that you're missing there on why it is that old people and old media doesn't know how to connect with young people is that, yes, all of those people were outraged and said so, but John Skipper did nothing about that. And then someone sent him a pumpkin that looked like a vagina that Barstool was using, and that's what ended it. And that's how you lose. Like, that's how you lose. That didn't hurt ESPN that they didn't get them. And it didn't hurt. I mean, it didn't help ESPN to have them for a day. And it didn't hurt at all Barstool, or pardon my take,
help their brand,
that they were too hot for ESPN. It's the reason it happens. It's a bunch of old people in charge. Like, you don't get to be in charge of any of these things that decide what's popular for young people unless you're old. You can't get that power young.
Well, you know the inner workings of this topic more than I do. I admit that. But in this case, is it smart of Fox, or is it desperation and cheapness? Because if you'd rather have on Big Noon, if you'd rather have Dave Portnoy than Nick Saban, that's ridiculous. You're wrong.
But you could say that you're wrong, but they're picking up ground. And in today's age where the currency is, this is exactly why ESPN got Rush Limbaugh. Like, you get the guy who brings attention. You don't care. You do not care how you get that attention. It's Fox. What's the standard? Like, you don't care how you get the attention. You lost Skip Bayless. You've fired everyone else. The place has been a dumpster since Jamie Horowitz left, and it was a dumpster before he left as well. And now you bring in something that will at least bring you ratings.
Okay, just answer this with one word, if you would. Who's better for ratings if you're a college football pregame show, Saban or Portnoy?
I don't think that's a decision that they're making. It's not like, I mean, they have Urban Meyer there. I would look, by all means, try to get Nick Saban next to Urban Meyer on Big Noon. But he's employed by ESPN in part because Corso was leaving, and that's where the offer came in. I think if you're looking for a comp, it's what McAfee brings is a crowd, is energy. Early in the morning, like what McAfee does really well, they lean into there. And I think part of what hurts Big Noon is not just that they're married to the noon time slot, is if they're ever in the same place as College Game Day, the crowd usually goes to College Game Day, and it seems like a lesser experience. You want to see energy from the crowd. Barstool's got to bring people to those places.
They're not just going to do that. Sorry, Billy. They're not just going to do that. But when I think of both pregame shows, and Big Noon is making up numbers on what has been the standard, only the ESPN show produces the viral moments, and they're usually McAfee that everyone sees. Fox has been able to make that climb without any of that. Like, they don't have any of the controversy, so they're welcoming the controversy.
You're making it seem, though, like Dave Portnoy is like prime Howard Stern, and he's going to come on Big Noon and like turn it into like this circus and this zoo with like not safe for work content. Like, he's just going to come on and be himself. I don't think that it's going to have this like taboo impact that you think that they're going for.
I don't know how they plan to use him. I do think he's going to be a little bit more reserved. I don't think he's going to do shock jock stuff, but I do think he's going to be able to have takes that you don't necessarily see on Network Fox. I mean, and they've tried this before, not to this degree, really tapping into a young base, but they've had provocateurs on that show, to put it as politely as I can, with Clay Travis in the early days of that show. They do try to reach out and do some different things with their talent.
I disagree, Billy. We'll see. It probably won't happen early because there are going to be some nerves involved, but I would say that's the only reason he's there. Like, why put that person who doesn't have any particular expertise on college football? He just gambles on it. Why put that person in the center?
That counts.
What is the reason? You think they're just putting him there for gambling? Like, why is he there?
I mean, he's a huge sports fan, and when he has the opportunity to go on, let's take what Barstool produces usually, and I don't know where this falls into the Fox deal, but Barstool does a good job with their own traveling road show that goes to college football games with good, energetic crowds, and they put out great social clips. And Dave Portnoy's there. He's a sports guy. He just loves sports. He's not. I mean, he'll have some brash takes here and then, but ultimately that guy wants to talk about Michigan football. Yeah. He wants to talk about the Big Ten. It's actually right to the core audience of what Fox does.
So he'll poke Urban Meyer because he doesn't like Urban Meyer, like. But it's not. What are you going to say the F word? Like what?
I don't. He's good at being controversial. You're not particularly controversial. Like it comes to him naturally. So I assume that he will understand that if he has to be there, he has to fit in, but also he has to make his worth known. While there, like McAfee found his footing for a while. Like it took him a couple of minutes, and it's going to take Portnoy a couple of minutes. But it's a strange thing to have in the like nothing like him has ever been on the center of one of these things other than Rush Limbaugh. There's nothing. Bill
Simmons is a decent comp.
No, but a politically polarizing person.
Okay.
Like Bill Simmons is not a politically polarizing person, but that is a good comp because if you think Simmons was there to just be a fan, I don't think Portnoy will be there to just be a fan. I think he will be there to bring attention, and he knows how to bring attention, and he's good at it, and he doesn't. And at this point, if he gets fired, doesn't matter. He doesn't need the job. Like he doesn't need what is there. Like that, he could go do other things.
Yeah, he doesn't need the job, but he's also not like, a 20-year-old. He's the head of a very successful company. He's not going to blow up a relationship with Fox and now with FS1 over doing some stunt on Big Noon Kickoff. And I don't think he's going to bring politics into Big Noon Kickoff. I don't think we're going to get into any debates there.
No, he's fairly traditional as a talent when the central focus is CFB. Now we'll see how it turns out. I'm sure he'll say something that'll garner attention, which is really, I don't see the downside at all. If you're trying to make up ground, I mean, what's the downside? He's not good, and then you ultimately learn from that, and maybe you reduce the amount of camera time that he has, but still ultimately you got into business with Barstool to bring eyes, and hopefully they bring that attention there. I'm with Billy. I don't think he's going to jeopardize an entire network-wide deal by just trying to be shocking. That's also not really his thing. Whenever he's shocking pretty organically. It doesn't come off as a put-on with Dave Portnoy. I'll give him that much.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you could agree or disagree with what he says and what he thinks and believes, but he seems genuine in those. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a shtick or like an act that he's going on and saying things to be controversial. I mean, maybe he'll turn it up from time to time, but like it seems genuine.
I don't dispute you guys. Like, this is the part that you guys aren't hearing me on. I don't think it's inauthentic. I think he gives off asshole on purpose, and he's proud of it, and he doesn't back down from it. Like,
I mean, 2 peas in a pod. Game recognized game down.
It's a mirror. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is, you okay, Greg?
Yeah, that's why I pressed the cough button.
Yeah, he nailed that one,
I'm
too.
a pro.
Good job, Good one,
I'm a
Greg.
real broadcasting pro, Dan.
Hope Awful Announcing includes that in the clip.
Yeah.
Him coughing at the end?
Yeah.
I didn't hear it.
Well, that's why I clicked the cough
I
button.
pressed the cough
He
button.
pressed the cough button.
Nobody would have known if you hadn't mentioned it.
Yeah, Dan. I would say very few people occupy the sports media space that you do. You are a bit of a unicorn.
I don't know whether to thank you or...
A coughing unicorn.
No, it's a compliment.
Okay,
There's a lot of redundant skill sets.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen anyone in the industry replicate what Greg Cody brings to the table.
Thank you very much. I do take that as a compliment.
That is a sincere compliment.
Okay.
Two things that we mentioned
into the mic,
there
please.
that I assume
Thanks,
that
Roy.
you have commentary on is one, Trump getting in the Washington football team's name business.
Yeah.
And the other one was the idea of Saban returning to coaching. Surely you have thoughts on both of those things.
Well, I would mimic what Mike said on Trump, just having no business whatsoever getting into the business of personal,
an echo chamber.
a professional, personal team owned by a guy having nothing to do with the government. Why is Trump even bothering? Trump doesn't have enough on his plate politically in a time when his ratings are tanking by everything
you know
I've
what
read.
he's. Come on, I already told you what he's doing there. It's not that he doesn't have enough things on his plate. He's clearly not sleeping, and he's in giant trouble because his own base is turned on him.
Right.
And Murdoch's not afraid of him. And so that's clearly not what's happening here. He wants the Epstein stuff out of the news, and he's only got so many moves to get it out of the news.
Okay, but this is just so silly that it's not going to divert attention from the Epstein stuff. It's just everybody's looking at it and laughing like, come on, Trump. Really? Back to Indians and Redskins? Yeah. What are you doing? I mean, it's just further polarizing and dividing the country. It's just so stupid.
If I may, that's exactly what it's doing, and it's working, and you're giving attention to it. You're giving it oxygen. It is so clearly a distraction.
Right.
It is so clearly an intentional popular move with this base to get them fired up, and it's a diversionary tactic to get them to look away, and it is working.
Is it?
Yeah, we're talking
about it.
Yeah, and if we're talking about it, his base is talking about it, and really he called them stupid to their face last week. He needed to make up ground with that base, and Obama hoax and Washington team name, these are very popular culture war type of things that are core principles to the MAGA base. And yeah, he's stoking those flames to get people.
And stop telling me how to be politically correct when I'm a white person. Don't tell me how to talk about black people, gay people, Native Americans. Don't tell me how I can talk about those people. That works.
I always find the logic behind the Washington Commanders that he gave to. It's the same kind of logic that he had with renaming some of these forts after former Confederate soldiers, and it's always like we have to protect the heritage and the legacy.
Sure.
People who were proud to come from these places. Apparently, that legacy and heritage did not apply to the USS Harvey Milk. I guess with that we don't need to protect that legacy. It's very clear what they're trying to do, which is a literal whitewashing.
Okay, so when does the White House start flying the Confederate flag? Is that the next step? Because
no, you got to go slowly there. First, you bring back
ease your way into it.
The Negro Leagues, you bring those back. Trump will want to have only one team name that he's responsible for there.
Yeah,
He'll bring back, and then you climb up to that.
Oh, okay, all right. I didn't get that straight. Sorry.
Saban.
It's tied to Donald Trump. It's tied to his looming, what's reported on rumored executive order to cap compensation in NIL for for football teams, I think. And Nick Saban is heavily involved in there. I think he has an official position, or it's been floated out there that Trump is leaning on Nick Saban heavily to craft what this will look like. And if that's the case, and Nick Saban gets to dictate what the rules are, and if the Big Ten and SEC are essentially the people that are enforcing these things, then Nick Saban's advantage, it's back. Oh, the parity, it kind of goes away. It's diluted. If I get to make the rules, then I'll
Cody's talking about him returning to coaching.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Nick Saban is thinking about coming back, and I believe the reports because he gets to design the rules of the game because he has the president's ear. If the president is indeed going to do this executive order that caps what players can make in NIL deals, which is basically capitalism for the top tier, socialism for everybody else, Nick Saban will come back. If he gets to draw the battle lines for this, that further incentivizes it, no doubt.
Nick Saban coming back is not a given under any circumstance, is it? I mean, his own daughter goes on Instagram and says, I happen to know he ain't coming back. And yet you have Paul Feinbaum.
She happens to know.
I would think she does. You have Paul Feinbaum, just gratuitously floating out, he ought to go back down to Miami and take care of that issue down there because he coached the Dolphins in 2005 and 2006. And very well, by the way. If he hadn't left for Alabama, he might still be the coach. They didn't fire him or push him out by any means. But it's just so purely speculative. If I'm a betting man right now, I'm not betting that Nick Saban comes out of retirement. Are you?
I don't think I take the bet, but I will say with him getting the ability to shape the policy via executive order, I'd say it makes it a hell of a lot more likely than it was prior to.
Nick Saban's daughter happens to know?
He happens to know. I would think she does. I would think she does. I mean, she has an inside source. It's her dad. You don't think they've had a conversation? Why does she go on Instagram and say, he ain't coming back, people?
Well, thankfully, he's never lied on the record or changed his mind.
Fair comment. Touche.
Is that all you have on Nick Saban? Do you have any other thoughts on Nick Saban?
I don't have any other thoughts that merit stating right now that are on course with this particular topic. I just think it's always ridiculous when we and now all of a sudden the poor Alabama coach at the SEC media days has to speak about the Nick Saban rumor, and of course he's all polite, in saying that he's done so great he should be able to do whatever he does. Parentheses, but not take my job, I hope. So I just don't put any credence to it. I think it's I hate to say it, I think it's a media contrivance at this point.
You can say it's a media contrivance. What Mike says suggests it's tempting. I can't imagine what it is to go through your life getting your identity from what it is that particular person does, how lopsided you have to be that successful, and then all of a sudden you're off to the side of the game. But Nick Saban's timing on retirement was as impeccable as Bob Iger's was the first time. And Bob Iger, I assure you, regrets coming back because shit got a whole lot harder and Disney's in the dumpster and Iger got out. Iger got out as if he knew the pandemic were coming and cruise ships were going to go down and amusement parks in China were going to go down. He got out at the perfect time and then he came back and he should not have come back. And Nick Saban, we were mentioning this last week. So over the last few years, it's been Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and then LSU has gotten in there a couple of times with Les Miles, with Ed Orgeron. Originally, Nick Saban built all of that. But there haven't been that many teams that have actually been great. And he won at the end, got knocked out with a team that was probably one of his worst in the last 10 years, but still made the playoffs and then got knocked out. But no one will have a bad thing to say about the ending for Nick Saban, and any team would immediately want him. He'd immediately go back to coaching and become the highest paid coach in the sport. But he's almost 80, right? And he was saying that he was tired, like that he was just going into work and not enjoying it, at least in part, because it can't be fun to not have any control over any of the rules.
Well, he's not that old, but he will be 74 in October. So that's a factor. I mean, that is not irrelevant in the least to the idea of him making a comeback.
Did you find the correct happen to know sound, Roy, or did you just Chris Cody has left you in a lurch? By the way, Jason, our director, was also at the Backstreet Boys concert in Las Vegas and took a red eye and got in at 6 o'clock this morning. He was very proud of himself.
What a warrior, dude.
Yes, he was very proud of himself because
thank you, Jason.
Unlike Chris Cody, he made it back. I did not know that we had so many Backstreet Boys fans around here.
It's the sphere, man. It's a combination of the two things.
Tell me why.
Unfortunately, I've been left in a lurch, Dan, by Chris not being here. Did not title this.
Okay. So you couldn't find it, and it's not anywhere to be found. The only thing that was in the library was the least funny of all the happen to knows. Okay, good work by Chris Cody. Glad for all his efforts.
Hi, I'm David Sampson. How would you like to sit down with me and talk about success in business, which equals money? And I like money. And let's face it, there's a lot of guys in baseball who could learn a thing or two about money. I'll tell you how I went from a law school guy to a newspaper delivery guy to a Wall Street guy to baseball guy to a media guy. If you're smart, great. Maybe you can imitate me. If you're not, take solace. You're just like nearly everybody else. So, you want to talk business? Think of me as your OnlyFans for rich guys.
David, you know this. This is why people don't like you. You're like capitalism in human form. But if people like you and dislike you, then you really have a show.
And I do have a show. Every Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern. Be there. It's 5 days a week. Nothing personal with David Sampson.
Because Jeremy was an alleged journalist last night. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. Jeremy, who is an up-and-comer in the broadcasting game and is someone who has now journalistic credentials around, literal credentials around the Heat and the Marlins. Yesterday he was hosting. And this is one of the great things, Stugotz, this time of year. We get it so infrequently around here in South Florida. But South Florida has always done this well. The rest of the country always makes fun of, you guys don't care about that sports that much. You're bandwagon people. All right. Many of us are. Not everyone is. The loyalists are super loyal. But Miami does the bandwagon better than anybody. Miami does. Everyone now show up for the party. And so you have, stunningly, a hockey arena in the Everglades, like surrounded by airboats and alligators, filled with people to do the wave, watching the game on television. And at the Heat, across the street from us last night, Jeremy Tessier is watching the end of that game with a lot of people who are excited. And Stugotz, I'm getting a lot of this. Jimmy was out of bounds, and it ended up being a 3. That was a goaltend ref culture win. Okay, whatever. Tell it to the people who were yelling and screaming around Jeremy.
How about this? 1-1, we're coming home.
Okay, who's we?
Yeah, I took the Heat in 5. Anyone else?
He's right.
All right. The Knicks are watching this like everybody
2
else.
rounds ago.
It was a long time ago, understandably. Here's Jeremy Tessier not being a journalist while covering, again, an arena filled with people, but no players or athletes were there.
You're catching us right now as the Miami Heat have just won Game 2 of the NBA Finals. You can see that this crowd here is hoisting babies into the air. This crowd is ready from the moment this game started, and it has continued here as the Miami Heat have just upset the Denver Nuggets. We've got fans going crazy. We're high-fiving. Everybody's ready for an unbelievable night right here in Miami. right from the jump, as this energy around the entire lower bowl was electric from the moment this game started until the moment it ended. As we pan out to the rest of the crowd, you can see the entire lower bowl going absolutely crazy to end this game. The Miami Heat have just won it as Jamal Murray's shot has not gone in. I cannot believe what I've witnessed around me. There were moments in the fourth quarter where I couldn't hear myself think. I don't even know if you can hear me on the microphone. What a night at the Kaseya Center as the Miami Heat take their first game, their first win in Denver, and I know that this crowd right here is ready for an unbelievable party Wednesday night, Game 3 here in the Heat's house. Guys, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Oh my gosh, Jeremy Taché doing that on one tank of oxygen.
Not a single breath taken. He was like one of those free divers that go down for 20 minutes at the bottom of the ocean. It was a record. And if you're listening just by audio and not watching, what you didn't see in that noise is there were 11 actual babies tossed in the air. Just infants.
Seems reckless.
It does, but hey, it's game 2.
Right.
Wait till game 7 of this thing.
Right.
11 babies, a fetus.
It's not going 7. I said 5. I mean,
that's right.
You did mention that.
Yeah.
The energy was actually insane. I don't remember any of that. I feel like I blacked out as that happened. It sounded like I was losing my voice. I wasn't losing my voice. I literally was just unhinged. I don't remember it. It was really amazing.
You blacked out. Excellent work by you, blacking out as a impartial observer of games.
Well, you can't be impartial if you're holding a microphone that says Heat TV.
My job is sales
and
that
high-fiving.
You're
people.
emceeing.
Yeah.
Emceeing is really sales.
I'm
right?
there.
Yeah.
I'm there to make sure everybody's ready to be at games 3 and 4. I'm there to make sure that everybody is ready to be at the road rally. Bally Sports, the heart of the fan.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Batard Show. Would the Zeller minutes look the same if you replaced him with a newborn giraffe?
Or that newborn baby that was being hoisted into the air.
The giraffe would just be more distracting. I feel like we'd have more success.
No, Zeller's plenty distracting.
Porter
He's right
Jr.
now.
would be like, why is there a giraffe on the court?
No. Listen to me. Zeller is a strong human being. He is a big human being. And when he starts balling around there.
I can't take my eyes off of him.
Well, no, nobody can. Nobody can. Jokic, you're hoping to distract Jokic. It's dangerous. It's like having a wrecking ball just move through the court, but it's like on a hinge that's not safe, and it's just swinging through, and you got to be careful because every once in a while they'll put one in with an offensive rebound, but everyone be careful because it might fly into the stands. The Zeller minutes are amazing. Yeah. They're a joy to watch.
Oh. Ever since Tony pointed it out, those black shoes, they don't
it's
help.
The hair or lack of hair too. It's kind of disturbing.
No, it's also the mask, or just again. I've mentioned that it should be a retainer, a wire that runs outside of his mouth. It's just
like
all
ear to ear
that could impale someone.
And if not for a Theragun, that could be Dwayne Dedman.
Jeremy becomes Jeremy.
Okay, so we got a bear here stumbling around. You see that mirror to the left. He's like, oh, this is weird. There's a lot of weird stuff here. Oh, my God. I just saw myself. He's like, get out of here. So that's how I imagine a bear would react if they saw Jeremy in the woods.
But that's what they would do to me.
It's really screwed up to do that to a bear, honestly. He's just like not expecting, just like having a nice stroll.
Right.
And just, we'll watch it one more time. This is good fun. Good, clean fun right here.
It really is.
He's just like,
Greg Cody's terrible mustache has disappeared. It is gone. It was not unlike Stephen Colbert's. It was pathetic. It was an embarrassment to all other mustaches throughout the history of facial hair. Can you guys put up on the screen, please, the text exchange of Greg Cody leaving last week with his mustache painted and sending it to his wife. And his wife, says, ugh, just when I thought it couldn't be any worse. And so Greg Cody had to let go of the mustache. It was let go after 5 or 6 days, or what? How long did it last?
Too long, according to my wife.
Okay, yeah, she did not like it. You left here very confidently last week after everybody was complimenting that look of the painted-on mustache.
Yeah,
but
she convinced me that they were just, kidding me. Or
we were not
polite.
kidding you. We were not kidding you. We thought it was a good look for you. We'll bring in Jemele Hill here. We'll ask her if she thinks this is a good look for you, because we've got a number of things to talk to her about. Don't you think this makes him look younger, Jemele? How do you think he looks better, with this painted-on mustache or with this clean face that doesn't conceal some of the age under his nose?
Now, even though it's true that women typically love facial hair, I think we love more goatees. So really, Greg, the problem is that you didn't take it far enough.
Yes.
It should have been a full goatee. But I would take the clean baby face look over this sort of slightly nefarious, should he be within a playground look?
It is. He does.
It is slightly nefarious.
I think I would arrest you based on profile. It would be the mustache. I would just arrest you if you were near a playground, and no one would dispute it. Like, no one in America would have any issue.
That guy?
With it. Yeah. We understand.
You know who's happy about us perpetuating this mustache PDF thing that we keep doing through societies? The political elites, Dan. The political elites. They don't look like that.
Which you know.
All right?
Man.
I know there are no files, and someone else wrote the files that don't exist, but we need to stop doing this to mustaches.
Jemele makes a good point. My wife has said, at least if you grow the entire goatee, that's marginally acceptable. She has given me that much. So,
well, the mustache was especially terrible. By the way, you're having a bad arm day. Your right arm is bleeding. Something has happened there to have made your.
Are you, first and foremost, are you okay?
Anybody get a napkin?
I'll run in there. Yeah, we have a first aid.
Can anyone get a napkin?
This happens.
There is a bloody arm here. I don't know. It looks, as I'm looking at it, it looks like a sore has simply belched up some blood.
Okay.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Does this happen?
Can you hold it up so we can see it at least?
I don't want to do that.
Okay, it's a visual medium, though.
All
right, in the interim, let's play for Jemele here some video. Does this have any audio on it? This is WNBA All-Star Game this weekend. What are you laughing about, Tony? Just in general?
No, you look over, you're like, your arm is bleeding.
It's a lot of blood. It's not a little bit of blood. It's like it looks like he was shivved. Like it's not a small amount. Anyway, the WNBA. The video crew caught you.
All right, I'm gonna.
He's gonna flee the room in disgrace.
Switching my.
He's going to do it himself because people were too slow. Look, they're helping you over here with some
balms. Did he not feel it?
Look, an assortment of balms.
Needles for it? Like, what is happening?
We got many balms here.
An assortment of balms to take care of you. Let's
wear
bring
gloves,
it.
Mike.
It's just this is why he wears long sleeve shirts.
Anybody get a tourniquet?
Let's play. Let's play this video. There is no audio, but I want to talk about. This is super interesting to me, Jemele, because the WNBA, the women have realized what they're worth, and that's going to make for a fight with management, who are not going to want to think they are worth that. These things between players and management are usually contentious, and the CBA is they're not close here, but. On Friday, before the All-Star game, you've got players dancing with the WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, and they're wearing shirts that say, pay us what you owe us, okay? So go ahead and play that instead of Greg Cody's bloody arm so that we can see what the ladies are doing here. What do you make of the economic fight at the center of this? Because it is really cool to see these players realize how valuable they are in the streaming age and how this has exploded. And of course, management's not going to be prepared for how to deal with that.
First, what people don't know, because I understand you probably can't play the audio, but they are dancing to Nuck If You Buck, which ironically is about fighting. So as we discuss the fight that is taking place between the players and, of course, NBA or ownership, I should say, WNBA ownership, here's a few things that I need people, to understand. The WNBA players are not asking for NBA money. They have never asked for NBA money. Currently, they get about 9% of their portion of things is 9%. And what you saw across social media is people react in a way that shouldn't surprise you, Dan. You've covered sports enough to know that whenever there is labor strife or labor tension between player and owner, people side with the owners, which always blows my mind, because I don't understand this constant glazing of billionaires as if they need help, as if they need more support than they already do. And so already you see how these pieces are aligning when it comes to how fans and how people who are casual observers feel about this fight that they are waging. People have to understand that these women, maybe not this generation of women, but what the generations of women in the WNBA have had to endure to make sure they got to the point where, yes, they could say, you owe us. They have shared hotel rooms. They have traveled commercially. They don't even have a pension. All right. The WNBA players do not have a pension. People talked about, say, a franchise like the Chicago Sky, where they are practicing in a rec facility, where if you're coming in there to do your 30-minute water aerobics class, you also get to see Angel Reese because she is working out and practicing at the same gym. So that's what we're talking about here, about resources and about investment. And so the players, they see what's coming down the pike. The fact is, next year, a $2.2 billion media rights deal kicks off for the WNBA. You have record investment. The Valkyries are already the newest WNBA team. They're already valuated at $500 million. The New York Liberty is valuated at $420 million. And I know this will really surprise you, Dan, given how long that you have covered sports. But when people keep on regurgitating that, oh, but they lost $40 to $50 million last year, what's the source of that? The source of that is, oh my God, it's the NBA. The NBA said it. You mean the same NBA that in 2011, when there was a lockout, they said they were losing $1 billion? You mean the same NBA in 1999, when there was another lockout, they told people the majority of NBA franchises were losing money? All I have to say is this, like, I ain't the brightest person in the world. I'm not the best business owner. But if the WNBA business was so bad, how are they adding 5 teams by 2030? Why are billionaires literally tearing an ACL to buy into this league if the business of it is so bad? It's because as much as the revenue certainly counts, the valuations tell you exactly what is possible for this league. And the players know this, and they want their cut.
Jemele, go through some of these numbers with me, because you said something that just shocked me, and I did not know it. 9% is half of what Dana White gives his fighters, and that's offensive, what Dana White is doing, and 9% is unbelievably bad.
Yeah, it is bad, because, listen, your rookies shouldn't be making the same as the bank manager at Bank of America. They shouldn't be making the same as that. And again, people need to compare it to, as you said, other leagues and what they're making. Like, we realize with the NBA is very generous. The players are getting a 50% split. But 9%, Dan, and no pension. All right?
That's crazy. But that's crazy. Is there anything else like that? Like, what's comparable? Tony, you know this. Like, MMA is notorious for being despicable to its labor, and this is half of that. Like, 9% is offensive.
When you said that, I wasn't registering. Like, yeah, 18%, like 9% is like less than it's less than 10% of what everybody's making.
That's wild. Great math by you.
Thank you. On the fly.
That's lunacy,
On
though.
the fly.
That's lunacy. I mean, what's comparable to that? Historically, what do you have that would have an entertainment vehicle that's as valuable as this one with the labor making 9%? And what are they asking for, Jemele? Like, if you can look at this in any way, sort of objectively, right? Because I know this is also something that you're rooting for. You would say, what else would compare to something as poor as 9% when you have probably the most, what has been the most undervalued thing in sports, given that the TV age and the streaming age is going to need this programming soon, given the numbers that it does?
Dan, I can't really think of a comparable, but I can say this in terms of what the players are asking for. Like, obviously, they're going to go for an even split. And I'm not sure if they're going to get it, but I will say if they get, like at this point, considering how low it is, if they get a UFC style split, it would be a major win. And, that's what sort of bothers me about the conversation around it, is that there is this mentality, especially when it comes to women. And then you're dealing with a league that is Black women, primarily Black women, 70%, that the idea is that they need to just be happy with the crumbs and whatever that they're given. It's like the people that are investing in this league, and even the NBA itself, the reason that they have chosen to subsidize this league is not because of charity. And because women's sports is always positioned as something charitable, as something that people are doing just because it's the right thing to do. No, this is a business. And the reason that the NBA started the WNBA is because they knew that this moment would eventually come. It wasn't because, sure, David Stern had a vision of being able to do something that hadn't been done in America, which is have a viable, profitable league that showcases the very best women's basketball players in the world. But he also was thinking about this from a business standpoint, as was everyone who has been involved along the way. And even as the WNBA has been losing money, and I put that in air quotes because we frankly don't know what the books look like, because that's kind of the way it goes in professional sports. At the very least, they have provided a very safe tax bunker for a lot of NBA owners, hence why for a long time that they had no real reason to invest. And now that they see an opportunity here through Caitlin Clark, through Angel Reese, through the fact that just as a public being that much more interested in women's basketball, they want their share. I think to protect the product, and it makes sense for the owners to do this, is that you eventually, I mean, this season alone, the WNBA will play more games than they've ever had, through the regular season and the playoffs. So it'll be, 50-something games. You want to make sure you pay them enough, at least so that they're not going overseas. What does it say about the salary structure in the WNBA that the whole reason that Brittany Griner was playing in Russia is because in Russia, that has not so good of a record of human rights, pays their women's basketball players better than they do here in America. That's the whole reason why she was there. That's why Diana Taurasi was there. That's why many of them go overseas. They go overseas to countries that have terrible human rights violations because they actually could get paid what they're worth in those countries and not in this country.
Jemele, I was going to mention Brittany spending a year in a Russian jail directly linked to the embarrassingly low WNBA salaries. I was also going to mention the Unrivaled League in Miami began expressly because these women couldn't make enough money in their own league. What's it going to take to be fair with these salaries? And do you envision a time when the players may threaten a strike if they don't get what they want?
Where's all this headed?
So in my mind, I think both parties know that a strike, especially right now while the product is so hot, is not a good idea. But that being said, let's look at the resolve of these women. They're already not used to getting paid. I think they're willing to see this to the mat. And when they wore those T-shirts, it reminded me of another time they wore some T-shirts, which was just recently in the last couple of years. And that would be the year of 2020, where they wore T-shirts to support Raphael Warnock, the senator out of Georgia, who was polling at 9% before these players decided to take on a WNBA owner in Kelly Loeffler, who was the sitting senator at the time, who made some disparaging comments about the players participating in the Black Lives Matter movement. She made those comments. They took it personally. They did their research. They got behind her opponent, an opponent nobody thought could win. And they decided to put their entire platform and muscle behind an owner to get that owner kicked out of the United States Senate. So that's the type of resolve that they have. This is the crowd you don't want to mess around with because, to prove not to just prove a point, but to get what they're finally worth, they're willing to go as far as required to do this. And I hope that the WNBA ownership and the NBA league brass understand this. This is not the crowd to play with. Play with somebody else. Don't play with these women from the WNBA.
Jemele, to that exact point, though, like, isn't it the perfect time for a strike if your product is hot, if you have all this resolve? Say, okay, you guys want to make all this money off us and pay less than 10%, 9%. Like, all right, we're done. Like, we'll bring somebody else in.
I mean, that's exactly why they opted out. That's why they opted out of their collective bargaining agreement that was already in place, is because they saw and understood what the moment was. And likewise, as a part of this back and forth battle, hence why I find the timing of suddenly the New York media knowing exactly how much money that the WNBA lost last year, I found that to be pretty interesting.
There's a lot of interesting stuff here, Jemele. Like when you mention the resolve of these women, it is not lost on me that these women were stronger during 2020 than even the men were. You're mentioning that they're used to not making money. You've seen what's going on with the NFL Players Union. It's a disaster there, at least in part because those very wealthy people aren't willing to miss a single paycheck in unity. I would say these are the people to be least trifled with given all of the conditions. Like they're the most likely to strike and they're the most likely to have resolve.
Yeah, because they're already accustomed to not making money. And it's interesting that you bring in the NFL because one of the things that I think, I mean, granted, obviously NFL player salaries have increased dramatically. You have more and more players that are able to get fully guaranteed contracts. But if you look at the NBA history, is that their fight early on in the early stages when people wondered whether or not this league would survive. I mean, we're talking about the early 70s, particularly when they merged for the ABA and when Oscar Robertson fought for the league to have free agency, borrowing what Curt Flood did in Major League Baseball. People have this idea that the time to strike is when it's already profitable, when things are already good. That is not the time to strike. The time to strike is now when you're on the verge of something, because that's when you can get the conditions met. See, I don't think we'll ever see guaranteed contracts in the NFL because why would the owners ever agree to that? They have no reason to do it. But here in the WNBA, now is the time to get those things that would further cement them as a real legitimate professional league. Now is the time to strike for pensions. Now is the time to strike for higher salaries and set the tone. The NBA players set the tone in the early 70s. And that is why you have players making $300 and $400 million today. And so this is unfortunately a window into what is the American mentality about a lot of things, especially when it comes to women and Black women demanding things. It's like, no, you guys should really be on their side because the struggle that they're facing is a struggle a lot of women can relate to, being undervalued, being underpaid, but doing similar work. This should be easy to root for. And yet for a lot of people, they look at who is doing the asking and they have more of a problem with that as opposed to a problem with the people who have been exploiting them in this league for almost 30 years.
Did you have any opinion on Stephen Colbert being fired?
Well, it's funny that we're talking about this because it was interesting to see how when that figure got out, and again, we don't know where this comes from about whether, about the amount of money that he was losing. And I will say this, it was already a really bad precedent that Paramount set by settling with Donald Trump. And naturally, somebody like Stephen Colbert, who has always been politically fearless, when he expressed his displeasure with that, which, by the way, I think that's a pretty popular opinion, that people saw what was going on there. It just, the journalist in me, and as somebody who's in the medium of giving their opinion, it is just quite triggering for me because it's just another reminder of that everything is good until it's not. And, for him, I think seeing something like this happen to him is just a reminder about the kind of atmosphere and political climate that we live in. The truth is that a lot of these companies, a lot of media companies don't have the stomach for this kind of time. We're in a wartime mode when it comes to speaking out and speaking against the things that are happening in this country. And it's easier to get along and to stay uninvolved and to stay neutral. And when you don't, there's a cost and a price that comes with that. And I know some people will say, well, the show is losing money and that sort of thing. And I'm just of the opinion that, let's say Stephen Colbert never says anything about Paramount settling with Trump. You mean to tell me he wouldn't still be on air? Because I have a feeling that he would be. And those losses, they were more than acceptable when they felt like they weren't being challenged in the way that he was challenging them. So I think it's a very stark reminder, and unfortunately, it's a very harmful message to be sending right now.
You guys ready to play Would You Die on That Hill? Is everybody ready? Is it ready? Does it have music? Do we have better music?
No.
Would you die on this hill? We don't know this or that. We just said that.
It's that hill. It's that hill. Would you die on that hill? Venus Williams might be returning to tennis at 45 years old. That's a good thing. Would you be willing to die on that hill?
Yes, I am of the opinion that professional athletes, especially those who have done as much for the game as she has, that have accomplished as much as she has, they have the right to retire in any way they see fit. So yes, I would love to see mid-40s Venus Williams come back to tennis.
Diplo should change the music he's playing at a WNBA All-Star party because Courtney Williams tells him to change that, quote, lame-ass music and play some hip-hop. Would you die on this hill?
I would die more than once on this hill because I hate EDM. I can't stand it, all right? I hate that. Do. I hate this music, all right? And I don't consider EDM to be the same as house music. I grew up in Detroit. We listen to house music. House music and EDM ain't the same. Listen, having been to a WNBA turn-up a time or two, I can tell you, Knuck If You Buck and Wipe Me Down goes way harder than some of the things that Diplo does. Now, look, Diplo's very talented. His crowd just ain't for me. But Courtney Williams saved the party by doing that. So I got your back, Court. You did the right thing.
I mean, if anybody is familiar with Diplo, they'd know that he was getting to it. Hey, he'd get to it. Yeah. But Courtney Williams is well within her right to interrupt Diplo's set to tell him what to play at an NBA All-Star game. You were dying on that hill.
Yes, I am. And listen, I do generally get for DJs, it's very annoying when people come up and say, hey, could you play this? Could you do this? They don't like it when you interrupt their set and they have a flow and they have an idea how they want to do things their way. But with a WNBA party, he could have just left that EDM stuff, left it on the Mac unplayed.
He changed it right away.
He did, because he understood. So thank you, Courtney. You saved the party.
Scotty Scheffler should be forced to play with only 3 clubs. Are you willing to die on that hill?
Make up your mind.
Now, as somebody who took up golf 3 years ago and has become completely obsessed, can I just say in general, I don't know that people have the full appreciation for what Scotty Scheffler is doing. He shouldn't have to play with 3 clubs, of course. If anything, give him more clubs because I want to see more dominance. This is a run. Obviously, a lot of people are thinking about Tiger Woods' 2000 run, which was historic. And while I do think there is a difference in the dominance, Scotty Scheffler's consistency, the fact that he is so poised, him being completely unflappable. I watched the entire Open, and it was one of the best sports performances that I have seen this year.
The CEO of the company that was cheating on his wife with the head of HR should have played it cool on the Jumbotron. Will you die on that hill?
Okay, well, it's what led to it being a viral moment. I don't know that millions of people find out because you're right. If he plays it cool, millions of people don't find out because it was the reaction that created the drama and the question asking. However, I still think Mr. CEO gets caught. Why would you take the side piece to a concert with 60,000+ people? Nobody there is going to see you?
She loves Coldplay. I'll take care of your girl on the side. You know what I mean, Jemele? Come on now.
I heard it was an out-of-town concert, so maybe it was a business trip.
It does not matter. This world is too small. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody. And I'm just saying, his reaction is what created the viral moment. But these two people were just meant to get caught. And so I think regardless, somebody goes back, tells the wife or tells their spouses what's going on. They get caught regardless, but now they are the butt of a national joke because of the reaction.
I would like the audience to get clever and tell me what band names would be better, given what that viral moment was, to describe what it is that you're watching when you're watching lives being ruined, than Coldplay. It's not a great name for the situation, but it's not a bad one either. Give me some better ones.
Cheap Trick?
A band. Yes. Give me some better nominations there. Tony, what do you got for Jemele?
Jemele, speakerphone in public. Talking on the phone, speakerphone in public is never the move, ever. Are you going to die on this hill?
Yes, I will die on this hill. There's a particular post office that I go to, and every single time I come in there, somebody is on their speakerphone having a full-on conversation, inviting me into their life in ways I did not ask for. The conversation is never, hey, honey, can you pick up some eggs? The conversation is always so utterly ridiculous. Like last time I was in this particular post office, I had to hear about an entire weekend confrontation that happened because somebody got slapped over something, and it was just like,
okay, hold on,
I'm in your world.
Hold on, no, somebody got slapped. We got to figure out why. So I'd be leaning in a little bit longer, like, oh, what'd she say?
Watching.
Yeah, I mean, it was whatever it was quite contentious, and it was over somebody telling somebody something about somebody's child that they shouldn't have been telling them. I was like, okay, I don't need to know all of this. So people, please, for the love of God, use your headphones. I don't need to hear all your business, and certainly the people that walk down the street with their Beats bill on, like I don't need to know that about
the JBL speaker playing Fetty Wap. You don't like that?
I mean, I like Fetty Wap.
1738.
I just don't need to hear it out loud in environments where I'm not expecting to have loud music. Like if we're at a pool, if we're at a beach, yes. But I'm just trying to come in here and retrieve the items out of my post office box. I don't need to hear the soundtrack of your life. Real quick though, Dan, I will say this. You talk about what would have been an acceptable band to be caught cheating to. I would say Earth, Wind, and Fire, especially if they were playing or singing Reasons, because that's a cheating song.
I will not watch movies with limited interruptions. I will not stream movies with limited interruptions. Are you willing to die on that hill? Who just walked behind you? Is that an exterminator? Somebody just
went... that's my husband.
Oh, I didn't. Well,
exterminator.
He looked like he was holding like a. He looked like he was holding like a scuba tank or something that he would spray the house with. That's anyway. Limited interruptions on a streamed movie. Are you willing to die on that hill?
Yes, I will. I will watch one if it's good enough. If it's good enough. If they got me in with the previews, I will die on the hill of watching it with limited interruptions.
Will you watch a Netflix movie that does not? I will not watch a Netflix movie that does not have a trailer to it. That's missing the trailer. Are you willing to die on that hill?
I never watch the trailers on Netflix. I gotta be honest, I don't. I just kind of look at the movies based off the poster. If the poster looks good, I'm like, all right, I'll watch it. I don't really need to see the trailer.
Last thing then, July 27th, I learned the other day, is National Chicken Fingers Day. I learned this from Snoop Dogg. There has never been anyone to go from a murder trial to a commercial career like Snoop Dogg. Are you willing to die on that hill?
I am, although the closest I can think of in the sports world is Ray Lewis. To go from being accused of murder to suddenly becoming a ambassador and the face of the league, and to be somebody who, he was in all the Under Armour commercials, and be considered, and generally now, and I'm making no judgment on this character, to be considered by most as a good guy. It was probably the biggest turnaround I've ever seen, other than Snoop, is probably Ray Lewis.
Jemele, nice to see you. I will tell everybody here that you should check out all her work. Spolitics is the podcast that she has, and It's Jemele Hill is the YouTube handle. Nice seeing you, Jemele, as always. Thank you for stopping by.
All right, and I'll tell my husband that you thought that he was an exterminator. He's going to love that.
Text me what it is he was holding in his left hand, because it looked like a
looked
like a canister of some sort. Good
Dan
to see
called
you.
it a scuba tank.
I thought he was fumigating. I'm sorry. See you later.
Yeah, okay. Bye.
Did you guys see any of the details reported over the weekend on Lloyd Howell, who resigned from the Players Union? The details on the story. I texted Pablo and Dominique. I'm like,
on site with him.
Did Lloyd Howell resign because of what? This was before I read the most recent reporting. Did Lloyd Howell resign because of what you reported or because of what he fears is coming next in the reporting? Because they stood pretty strong the first few days on he's not resigning, we're rallying around him, and now they're having just total leadership turnover. It's not just him. The NFLPA is in a mess, and these details on Lloyd Howell were being asked about by ESPN right before he resigned. And some of the details are that he arrived in Fort Lauderdale at 10:20 one night and took a $700 car service immediately from the airport to Tootsie's.
Right around the corner, by the way.
The world's largest strip club, and not an $800 car service unless you're making the car wait for you till you get back to your Sunny Isles apartment at 6 a.m. because you went hard at that strip club. I think he's resigning because of the questions about that. He didn't want that to come out because the initial reaction was not him resigning. He ended up staying in that position, and the quotes were supporting him. And this is what I believe. This is what got him fired. Because when I asked Dominique and Pablo, I answered my own question with yes, he's resigning because of what was reported and what's coming. They don't want any more reporting around the things that they were doing. That's a ridiculous fee for a car service. That trip is less than $100 unless you're in a limousine.
I love how much authority you're speaking on this matter with too.
Yeah. Oh. You're hungry if you're going straight from Fort Lauderdale Airport landing. You're leaving your suitcase in the car. You're leaving whatever your travel is in the car, and you're going straight to the club from the airport. That's aggressive.
Yeah, it should be noted that Pablo and his team uncovered a second NFLPA cover-up, and then almost hours later, we had the executive director resigning over the weekend. J.C. Tretter also resigned, and now you have Pulitzer Prize winning journalists working for the big letters also poking around, seeing what else they can expose. And they probably looked at one another and said, this is probably it.
Tootsie's does advertise as the world's largest strip club. Is it? It's a warehouse. I've never been there, but it's 76,000 square feet.
It used to be a BJ's wholesale club.
I bet it did.
You haven't been there either, right?
No, of course not.
I believe you.
It has to be the largest, right? If it's 76,000 square feet of strip club, well,
this is a great. I mean, Billy is trying to carve out a niche here, travel correspondent. Maybe we can send him across the nation to see if he can find one bigger.
I am.
You guys would agree that
amusement park guy.
Oh yeah, I guess
for
that
your
is
amusement, but
an amusement of sorts.
Mm-hmm. You guys would agree that Costco is the single largest place I can offer you in any kind of retail that would be funny to put a strip club in, right? Like Home Depot would be closed, but
BJ's is pretty good.
Isn't Costco's or BJ's, whatever, that kind? That's the largest thing of its kind that you will find anywhere, right? There aren't. I don't know. In Memphis, I think there's a pyramid of some sort for.
It's a Bass Pro Shops.
Bass Pro Shops, yes.
Yeah,
pyramid.
But it's also like a hotel as well. It's where the Grizzlies used to play.
There can't be strip clubs more than 76,000.
That's the biggest in the world right now, Dan.
The
world.
I believe that future reporting is what has ended up sacking the very top of the NFL Players Union. It is a players union that is very hard to keep unified, and I've spoken to enough players here who are like mortified by the leadership in this case. I was talking a couple of weeks ago about DeMaurice Smith's book, and it was interesting to me to hear that he had written a book, because that position almost demands that you not be a look-at-me person. And DeMaurice Smith was a super look-at-me person, and then he writes a book that's totally unnecessary. He's not Marvin Miller in any way. Like, he didn't do any groundbreaking things in the negotiating of contracts for the players, and the players generally don't trust their union leadership, and this is why. Like, when I tell you what that drive is from Fort Lauderdale to Tootsie's, and I tell you the car service is $700, and I'm a player, if I'm a player and I'm reading that, you are an advocate for me. The fact that you are high paid is only because of the talent that we have, and you are wasting our money living a lifestyle. And incidentally, I should say, media relations departments, I don't know if they still do this, but media relation departments in New York, for example, had a strip club budget for their media people. So this is a way that a union representative might entertain being around with players.
Was it called specifically that, or just
Wait, so like the Dolphins have a budget for Greg to go to the strip club on the Dolphins dime?
I said New York, not Miami. I just said
But
that
I'm
New
saying
York
like
used
the
to have it.
team-wise, New York...
I don't know.
Not for the people covering them, for the people that work in the media relations department there. Okay. I mean, part of the reason that they gave, and I guess in a vacuum, that being a salacious headline does nothing to jeopardize his status. Nothing. Because the excuse that he gave was, team building expense. Oh, right. That's fine. It looks bad when it's scooped on top of everything that's going on around it.
Yes, that's the only reason. Going to a strip club is not against the law. Players go to strip clubs.
It's not the strip club. It's the $700 card charge of wasted money.
My question is, who's paying for that? If he's paying for that out of his own
No, he's
pocket,
not. What do you mean? No,
says who?
No,
It's an expense.
No, he expensed it. That's that's why he left. Like, what do you mean? Says who?
That's why they know. That's where he screwed up.
It was for a business meeting.
I think it's barely a controversy if it isn't piggybacked on top of what Pablo reported, and if it isn't preceding what's about to come out. Otherwise, a strip club is benign.
I will tell you that it would be a controversy if NFL players found out not this one thing about the cost of the car and the car service, but if that's what he's doing on one trip, it's what he's doing on all trips. And it's not the way that they should be spending their money. It's not an accurate way to be a union representative or leadership for players when all you are is an advocate for them. You're an administrative assistant.